All right. Well, thank you all for joining. My name, as you know, is Heinrich Moore. I game master Call of Cthulhu as Keeper Heinrich. Um, I've enjoyed playing Call of Cthulhu for about 25 years now, during which time I've gotten to visit a lot of exciting places, including Antarctica, the Mountains of Madness, and helping Professor Armitage avoid an apocalypse. And today I am joined by an incredible table to help play a near-final version of the upcoming Call of Cthulhu scenario, The Great Trap, to be published on Drive-Thru RPG's Miskatonic Repository. So, in this experience, I am joined by these four lovely people, and I am hoping that they will introduce the characters that they are going to be playing today. Let's start with Al. Could you introduce your character to the table?
Yes, I am going to be playing Flint Larson, who is the veteran of the Black Chamber, which is a code breaking ring that was in um, New York, I believe. Um, and he always goes by the Old Man, but he was part of that code breaking ring when it was transferred to the U.S. Department of State. He was doing decoding Japanese diplomatic cables and things like that. But eventually he got to the point where he was like, I'm kind of deciphering a lot of secrets here. And so he retired. He left the Cipher Bureau, moved back to Chicago, started teaching mathematics at the University of Chicago, and started making friends who were interested in some of the mysterious information he came across in code breaking. And so now we're one of them in this little book club called the Esoterics. Everyone calls him the old man, even though he is not the oldest person in the group.
Excellent. Oh, did we? Nope. Okay, good. For a moment, I thought Al had frozen up. Thank you, Mr. Flint Larson.
No.
Bridget, please introduce us to your character.
Yes, my name is Bridget, and I will be playing Julia Chase, who is an accountant and former cultist. She is 28 years old, and since she joined the book club, the Esoterics, with her fellows here, a lot of her cult experience in her past overlaps with you all. So whether or not the rest of the party believes that they're in a cult, she believes that they're in a cult. So she has a very familial, protective, elitist attitude when it comes to the individuals that are accompanying her. Julia is alarmingly pretty. However, her social skills don't necessarily match that. She is very cerebral. She is an accountant. She does have some background in first aid, and she's actually a pretty decent brawler. But the one thing is about Julia, despite the fact that she has the face, everything about her personality almost has a detachment to it. So you'll see that the more I see it and kind of explore her with you guys. She always has a sly smirk on her face, as if she's in on a joke that no one else is privy to. And that can be sometimes off-putting, but it sometimes can be accurate. She has a pretty decent psychology, so she can see through a lot of the BS.
I am very excited to see Miss Julia Chase in action. We're also joined by Sue. Sue, would you introduce who you are playing today?
Hi, I'm Sue, and I'm playing Eiling Soon. I really hope I've pronounced that right. As the name would suggest, she is originally Chinese, although she's lived in America for quite a long time now. She is an astrophysicist, and she is a visiting professor at the university.
And this would be the University of Chicago, I think.
Yes.
All right. Thank you,
Yeah.
Sue. And Mike, would you introduce to us Spencer Raceland?
Yeah, sure. So Spencer Raceland is in his mid-50s. He is the oldest member of the esoterics that gathered here today. So in theory, he should be the old man, but somehow that particular honor fell to Flint.
I'm not sure Spencer would book that kind of talk.
Not to his face, anyway. So yeah, he's originally from Edinburgh, Scotland. He grew up there, went to school there, went to University of Edinburgh, and then shortly after he finished his academic studies in European literature and cultural studies, he moved down and lived in London for a short period of time, where he started his more kind of the love of his life, which is the research of rare literature, rare and esoteric, should I say, literature. So he's travelled extensively. He's lived in London. He's lived in Paris for a brief time. He moved to New York just after the turn of the century and lived there for a few years. And then moved over to Chicago, and he's been living in Chicago for about 25 years or 15 years, 15, 16 years or so. He runs a small bookshop there, which is not far, it's a few streets away from the University of Chicago. His bookshop is called Libros Antiques, and he gets a lot of traffic from the university, through the academics, researchers, people like that. They come to him for information, because he's managed over the years to gather a wealth of knowledge about the more perhaps obscure and occult books. Yes, I would say he's a knowledge in the occult. And in fact, one of the people that works with him there in the bookshop is one of the students at the University of Chicago, called Florence Maxley. She's also a member of the Esoterics, but unfortunately she can't be with us today. He himself was introduced a few years ago to the others, and they've been meeting. They have a room in the university that they occasionally use for meetings. Sometimes they'll come round to the bookshop as well, and he's got a little back office where they'll sit and share a cup of tea. He doesn't drink coffee; he drinks tea, and discuss the various pursuits they've been following.
Excellent. Brilliant introductions by all of you. Thank you so much. And those are some of the pre-generated characters. And as our Spencer Raisler noted, there are even more that, alas, we are not going to see today. In terms of, just before we get started, wanted to go through a few house rules, 3 house rules specifically, that we will be plugging into our scenario today. So house rule number 1, X card. Many of you are familiar with this. Any time you can make an X with your arms, state that you're playing the X card, communicate that you are doing so in any other way. We'll stop play temporarily as we work around the particular scene or incident that triggered use of the X card, which is usually going to be something that's personal to you, that's making you have less than an awesome time, and that's not what we're here for. We are here for everyone to have a great time, and so this is a wonderful tool that just ensures that everyone does get to have that awesome time that we're looking for. While this is a horror game, it's the horror for your investigators, not for you on a personal level. So house rule number 2, player agency. Investigators get to act on the decisions of their players. Outside of compulsions, be they chemical, emotional, or magical, investigators generally may not interfere with another investigator's actions absent permission from that investigator's player. In other words, if you want to push that button, you're going to get to push that button. All right, the last house rule is all info. Each of your investigators knows one another and will share all information they receive with the rest of the group at the earliest opportunity possible. This means you never need to repeat what I'm saying or describing to the rest of the party, or even specify that you're doing so. We just assume that it happens. It saves a bit of time. Now that said, you can always specify that there's some bit of information that you are not sharing, and then we know that you're not sharing that information, and we'll see what follows from that. Are there any questions about any of our 3 house rules?
Nope.
Awesome. All right, then I will give you one piece of advice before we start the scenario proper. All of your introductions to your investigators were excellent, but don't forget they are pre-generated characters. They will live, they will die, they will live again, but not with you playing them. So operate them like cheap rentals. Drive fast, take chances. All right, so with that, we begin in 1927. About 1 to 2 weeks ago, each of you was approached individually by an attorney named Virginia Peasley. She shared with you a photograph of a letter. This letter was dated a couple of decades back in the 1890s and purportedly carried your signature. And looking at the photograph, you would have recognized your signature roughly as you would give it nowadays. So even if your signature sort of changed over time, whatever your signature is like today, that's what would be reflected. Now, we are using a shared Google Doc where we will be putting all player handouts, and this is among those player handouts that we have put there. So I'm going to ask, let's start with Flint. Flint, if you wouldn't mind reading for all of us, in case you haven't had the chance to read this handout yet, and for the audience, this June 21st, 1897 letter.
My dear friends, what will be almost 30 years ago relative to you has been but a few short years for me since that horrible night with Walter and Ursula, when whatever that thing was took him. I have confirmed with you that this much I can say, but otherwise must hold my tongue until the appropriate time. Know that you have shared with me the most incredible knowledge, more profound indeed in many ways than what I learned at poor Walter's expense. Please let me repay the favor so you can do what you must. Join me at my residence on June 10th, 1927 at 9 in the morning. I have enlisted a Miss Peasley to assist in this matter. Though she is quite young, you have assured me that she will prove adequate to the task. Lastly, I here include both my signature and yours so you may know the genuineness of this letter. Yours throughout time, Adhemar Osterman. And then the letter concludes with each of our signatures in ink.
Excellent. And so we will actually begin with you standing outside the Osterman residence. Ms. Peasley will be there ready to greet you. But as you step out of either your personal vehicle or a vehicle that Ms. Peasley provided, or other mode of transportation, you have some time to reflect upon sort of the period of time that passed between when you received this letter and when you have now shown up to accept its invitation, which will get us started. And one of the things that has transpired in this sort of 1 to 2 week period is that each of you has experienced a series of dreams. It's always the same dream, and you may have shared the contents of that dream with one another. Julia, would you mind reading us the handout, Dreams of the Gate?
Apologies. Dreams of the Gate. In your dreams, a purple-tinted fog parts to reveal a portal attended by a guardian in shimmering opaque robes. Through the gate, you see silent visions of yourself playing out like a picture show. Some you recognize, but others are unfamiliar. The guardian beckons you forward. If you choose not to enter, return this handout to the keeper. If you choose to enter, publicly describe a terrible moment in your character's past that did not happen, but might have. Turn this card over.
And of course, if we were at the table, you would have a card and you could turn it over, but we exist in a virtual space. And so I am curious, is anyone returning the card to me, virtually speaking? In other words, you are not going through the gate. So who is giving back that card? Wow, silence. Okay. That
Yes!
makes it simple.
Nobody's returning the card.
So before
I pressed the button, I touched the orb.
Yes!
So, before we then look at the other side of the card, we need to hear some terrible moments in your character's past that did not happen, but might have. Let us go to Dr. Sung first. Dr. Sung, what is it that you see in this portal?
This terrible moment is something that took place shortly after arriving in America, where I think it would be a telegram at this point in time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got a telegram letting me know that my mother was dangerously ill and not expected to survive, but there was absolutely no way I could get back to China in time to see her.
But fortunately, that did not happen.
No.
Well, I am glad to hear that for your character's sake. Spencer, what about you? What was a moment that didn't happen but might have?
So, Spencer's dream is he's 7 years old. He's sleeping in his bed in Morningside in Edinburgh. Awake to the sound of running footsteps, shouting, and the smell of smoke. I climb from my bed, bleary-eyed, pull my little sister from her bed, and we go to the door. We don't notice that the curls of wisps of smoke curling up from under it. We open the door, and we are met with a blast of heat and a fire raging through the house. We step out onto the landing, and I look over the balcony. The front door is open, and the servants are running up and down the hallway. My mother is on the stairs. She's being dragged down the stairs by my father. She's screaming. A flaming beam crashes down in the corridor to my left. My sister holds my hand tightly and starts crying. My father turns back to look at us as another beam falls, crushing him and my mother beneath it. I hold my sister close. Both of us are trapped on the landing, the flames rising ever higher around us. And that's my dream. I wake up in a cold sweat.
I'm certainly glad that it did not, in fact, happen to you. Flint, what does he see?
Flint's back in the black chamber. He's decoding all these messages, and it's important. It's all important work that he's doing. It saves lives. And given enough time, he can decode all of these things. But this is the one. He remembers getting it just in time. Getting it just in time. The vision he's seeing is the one that evades him. It's the one he's too slow to execute. It's when he could have, but he didn't, not soon enough, and because of that, people died.
Weighty responsibility. Fortunately, again, I think that did not happen. Ms. Julia Chase.
Yeah, her reoccurring dream is that she's on a sacrificial altar, not unlike what she's very accustomed to with the children of Pythagoras. She's fading in and out of consciousness, but when she is able to come into consciousness and she looks at her hand, it's not her hand, it's someone else's hand. It's not the right flesh cone. The fingernails are wrong. When she looks at her feet, they're not her feet. When she's able to touch her hair, it's straight and oily. She's trapped in a body that's not her own. And then she'll fade in and fade out. And when she finally does come through, she's looking at an image of herself getting ready to sacrifice Julia in whatever bodies is occupying. And the second she wakes up screaming in a cold sweat, and in real time she runs to the closest mirror she can find and makes sure she's actually in her right body.
That is harrowing, especially when you consider all the other experiences that Julia probably has had. Having indulged those visions, we turn the card over. And I'm gonna, let's see, how many of these can I fit? I think I can fit 4, which is good because all of you have turned it over. This card is all the same, but I think once you read it, you will see why I, in our document, did a bunch of them, because it's always possible that you will give this card back to me. Dr. Sung, would you mind reading Through the Gate for us?
I am Uma at Tawil, the prolonged of life. Do you bear the silver key? The figure asks you as you approach the gate. Suddenly you remember signing a letter in the company of a man once a friend, now a stranger. You see yourself running from the shrill whistling of an invisible assailant. Foresee yourself walking towards the trumpet sounds of a dying alien race. Visions of what was, what is, and what may yet come to pass. Then the visions are gone. Lose D3 sanity. Gain 5 luck. You may return this handout to the keeper to re-roll a single dice.
And I will leave it to you to remember whether or not you end up using this advantage or not. But for the time being, please all individually either using digital dice rollers or your physical dice. Right now in this virtual space, I think any physical object is a thing of comfort. So feel free to go ahead and roll that each individually and subtract your sanity and increase your luck by 5 points. And a D3, of course, for those watching, can be a D6. 1, 2 is 1, 3, 4 is 2, 5, 6 is 3. And fortunately, no chance that as a result of this you would lose 5 or more sanity, so we don't have to worry about any temporary insanity. 2 points. All right. Great. So we will pick up then in front of the Osterman residence. But if there was anything you wanted to do in this sort of 1 to 2 week period of time before we pick up at that point, feel free to let me know now.
Yeah, so Peasley approaches us all individually, right? Does she stick around?
Yeah, she's available to answer any questions. This would have been a week or two in the past. Yeah, she would have found you either at your workplace, or she would have come to your home if it would have been difficult to find you otherwise.
Okay, I would have asked her, who is Walter and Ursula, and how do I know you?
I'm afraid I don't have answers to any of those questions. I'm simply attempting to facilitate this meeting at the behest of my client, Professor Osterman.
And you you have a firm here in town?
I work with the firm. Yes, I'm not. I'm not self-employed as such.
Okay. Where did you go to law school?
Right here in town.
Okay. And how old are you?
She will strike you as roughly in her early 40s, maybe, maybe a little older. And she will sort of smirk coyly when when you say that. And she will simply say, "Pardon me."
I apologize, ma'am. You've handed me a mystery, and I find myself compelled to solve it, as you will. Sorry, sometimes my inquisitiveness wins out against my manners.
Well, not to prejudge the meeting that I hope you will join with my client, but I suspect you will not find any answers to whatever mystery you believe you've discovered. You see, Professor Osterman continues to suffer from an accident he experienced a number of years ago, and so in my communications with him, he remembers no more about this letter than it appears you do. Nevertheless, he asked that I carry out the instructions contained therein.
Will you be there?
I will be present. If Professor Osterman wishes me to be in the meeting, then I will be in the meeting. Otherwise, I will remain nearby should anything be necessary to help out with.
Well, thank you for your time. I assume I should talk with my friends about this.
Of course, I am in fact on my way to visit them. And if there is any assistance you require in joining, please do let me know. Wish to make sure that we meet our clients' expectations.
All right, very well.
All right. So we heard from Flint. Is there anything anyone else wishes to do before we pick up with the meeting with Professor Osterman?
I'll be asking Miss Peasley very similar questions. I have one in addition to that, which is, it says in this letter, Miss Peasley, that you have assured me that she will prove adequate to the task. Now, forgive me if I'm wrong, but we have never met before.
That is correct. I believe I have seen your store, but I've never had the pleasure of actually coming in.
So, yet this man, this Osterman, whose name I think I vaguely recollect in connection with the university, he is claiming that he has spoken to me, and I have assured him that you are adequate to the task in assisting him in this matter. Does this not seem rather strange to you?
I agree entirely, and I would struggle to think of anything in my career that approaches quite this level of curiosity. That said, I'm simply trying to fulfill my client's wishes.
Of course, of course. What do you know of your client? Have you had much dealings with him?
I have. He is something of a lifelong client.
And what manner of man would you say he is? Would you say he is a man of sound mind?
She takes a deep breath at this, and you see that she's lost in her own thoughts for a while. The accident affected the professor deeply. he was a good man, a curious man, devoted to his students. After the accident, he suffered. He lost many memories, and yes, he's professional. Um, but again, the accident has deeply affected him. So I would ask in your meeting with him, if you find him somewhat direct, that you not hold that against him.
You speak of an accident. What nature of accident did he suffer?
It was a vehicular accident. He was several years ago. It would have been about 5 years ago now. He was involved in a vehicular accident, following which he suffered severe memory loss. His head injury was quite serious, and he had to relearn a lot of what you and I take for granted.
Yeah, that's very sorry to hear that. But he is still lecturing at the university. His ability to do that has not left him.
He has taken an extended leave of absence from the university, but I would be very surprised if the university were to revoke his tenureship simply as a result of this injury. And he has made much progress, so we are hopeful that he will be back to teaching his students soon.
Remind me again, his field is.
Oh, it's a bit beyond me. Physics.
Physics. I see. Well, thank you very much. Yes, you can certainly relay to him that I would be delighted to meet with him on the 10th, and yes, I will speak to my colleagues as well, and perhaps one of them has a little more information about what this could be about.
I'm certain the professor will be pleased. Is there anything that Ms. Julia Chase or Dr. Sung would like to do in the 1 to 2 weeks before we commence at the Osterman residence?
Yeah, I would also like to talk to Miss Peasley.
Mm.
Yeah, a lot of questions that she would have just been answered.
Well, we can assume that you have asked those questions, but what additional questions might there be?
I would want to know, does he remember me? And the fact that he sent me a letter does suggest so, but I'm a little confused by the dates.
The dates are, I will agree with you, quite curious. He still does not truly remember anything of his life before the accident. He has learned much about it, but my own assessment is that it is an intellectual understanding of the life he lived, as opposed to a personal recall of that life. And so I understand you were friends. I would ask you not to hold it against him if he perhaps does not fully exhibit that friendship when you meet. He is still recovering.
Well, I will modify my expectations accordingly.
Okay. Julia, anything you would like to do by virtue of Miss Peasley or anything else?
Yes. When conversing with Miss Peasley, she's going to look at the photo and she's going to ask, "Darling, where's the original document?"
It is with the professor. I understand that he will provide the opportunity for you to inspect the document, but as I had to travel with it to meet both you and a number of what I understand to be your colleagues or associates, I did not want to endanger the original.
Are there any other recipients or visitors that you plan on paying to that are not listed on this letter? Is it just our 4 signatures?
That is correct, ma'am.
And then she's going to move very close to her very quickly, just directly inside of her personal bubble. And if she can, she's going to pull a finger through her hair. And she's going to ask her, like, what have you seen that you feel that you have not, or you should not have seen? Tell me what lurks behind your eyes, darling.
So Ms. Peasley will be she is clearly taken aback. She puts on a very strong professional veneer. You know, some people might not see her flinching, right? So she is really kind of holding her ground. That said, uh, you while you don't exhibit a people person type of demeanor, perhaps you are able to sort of see um, some of what lurks behind her eyes, as it were. And she will kind of before she knows what she's saying, she will say, he's changed. He's not the man he was, and sometimes he frightens me. I apologize. She takes a big step back. Um, that was unprofessional of me. May I count on you joining us in a few days?
And she will throw her a very sly smirk and say, "Of course." Is there anything that I can do to determine is there a roll that I can make with the psychology or just through this interaction to determine the depth of her fear? Is it just that I got her off balance and she started speaking too fast?
Mm.
Or is there an actual inherent fear that she's working through?
Tough to say. No need to roll. It is not a. It is a fear that is of a lack of understanding. You think it's a type of fear that you are familiar with from your former life. We'll say former life. It is not a fear you would assess to sort of be like she is in fear of her personal safety.
Mhm.
There is, she has described how this man that she knew sort of was changed by this accident. And so you think that that's, where the fear stems from, a fear of just not understanding who this person has become.
Okay. Before I conclude our conversation, I'll ask her if she has a card,
Oh, yeah.
or ask her what firm she works for if she doesn't have a card.
Yep. She provides you the card. She is listed among the names of partners, so she is clearly sort of pretty high up in this firm. And if you do any background research, you will see that it is a respected Chicago firm, mid-sized. Nothing that has any sort of necessarily like national scope. But yeah, perfectly well reputed.
Okay. She's good to go.
Okay.
Thank you.
There's one more thing that Flint wanted to do.
Absolutely.
Maybe I should explain to all the players. So there is a frequency that Flint has. Well, he has a shortwave radio station he listens to that broadcasts only a series of numbers, and he found the one that I think he thinks he's cracked. And if my cipher is right, the broadcasts have accurately recounted what will happen to him each day for the past 3 years. And so he's going to try and listen to that a lot, and see if he can't get anything from his decoding of that.
Yeah, if your translation is correct, it's not always, but usually it is, because you're fairly certain that you've cracked this. It speaks that you will meet an old friend, and then you will lose them again, and then it mentions a place called the Kreuz Observatory.
Kreuz Observatory.
Yeah, Kreuz.
Okay. I'll ask my friends. Also, well, I guess we'll talk. I assume we'll talk before it happened, and ask if any of them knows about the Kreuz Observatory, and any of them knows this Osterman fellow better than I do.
So Spencer will look up when you say the Kreuz Observatory as he's filling his pipe. Kreuz, did you say? Walter Kreuz.
All I know is the Kreuz Observatory. That's what I got from that odd radio signal that I've told you about.
Yes, that's very strange. I had a visitor a few years back by the name of Walter Kreuz. He was claimed to be a scientist of some sort, that he was rather unspecific, shall we say, about what particular manner of scientist he was. But he was looking for some very, very out of the ordinary texts. Yes, I didn't think much of the man, to be honest. Yes, there was something somewhat shifty about him. You know what I mean?
And Dr. Sung, you would recognize the name Walter Kreutz that Spencer mentions as a physicist who you've not heard that name in quite a while. You are aware that this individual has the Kreutz Observatory named after them, was responsible for its construction, but you're not aware of any recent research that they have been involved in, much less published.
Yes, I'm well aware of the Kreutz Observatory. It has been closed for a few years, I believe. I have been hoping it might reopen. It would be a very interesting place to visit.
Julia, what about you?
GM or keeper, unless I'm missing it. I don't think I have any ties or any recollections.
No.
So if I'm correct there, it's like, unfortunately, no, I don't have much to contribute on this one.
No. Virginia Peasley opens up an umbrella over your heads, blocking out the rain that has begun falling as each of you has sort of been lost in thought, recollecting your conversations with this woman, as well as some conversations that you've undertaken amongst each other. She seems profusely gladdened to see all of you. Thank you for coming, especially given the weather. She offers to walk you to the front of the Osterman residence, which is a town home with homes to the left and right adjacent.
Dr. Soon, do you know this fellow Osterman? I think his branch may be related to your own.
Yes, I used to. He was one of my mentors when I first arrived in Chicago.
Really?
We did work quite closely together for some time, but perhaps you're aware of the accident.
Yes, Miss Peasley did inform me of that. I take it you worked with him before the accident, then?
Yes, he did change significantly after that, a complete personality alteration.
This is most perplexing.
Barely, I don't think, I haven't visited him since then. It would be quite painful, I think.
The house itself, Dr. Sung, from the outside, it looks like what you recall. You would have come here, at least on occasion, sort of up to you how often you might have stepped in to speak with the professor. Peasley appears to have a key to the residence and unlocks the front door. When she swings it open, offering for you all to enter, to escape the rain first, Dr. Sung, you will immediately note that the interior of the house, while maybe furniture is still roughly where you recall, there have been a number of substantial alterations in the contents of the residence. So even, once you go in, this is very obvious, but even from where you're standing in the doorway, you would see some indications of this. The professor, like many academics, would have had lots of kind of current textbooks on shelves. Those have all sort of been removed as far as you can tell. You might see stacks of books that you recognize on the floor, very sort of neatly arrayed into columns, but clearly kind of pushed out of the way, and there might even be a thin layer of dust on them at this point. Replacing them on the shelves are much older books. You don't understand the lettering on many of them, on some because it's faded away, on most because it's in languages you can't begin to guess at. There's also the professor is not a geologist. Nonetheless, there are quite a few different types of rocks and minerals that have been put on the shelves. They're not particularly beautiful, so it doesn't look like they're decorative. You're not immediately sure, what would be the purpose for those.
Well, it looks like the professor's developed some new interests over the years. I suppose that's encouraging.
Rock collecting from the looks of it.
Yeah, well, Spencer, your eyes will likely be attracted to some of the books on the shelves. These are probably some of the same books that you stock in your collection, and others that you wouldn't mind adding to your collection.
Very interesting, very interesting. This is quite the collection. Really, almost rivals my own.
Can I take one of the rocks and look and pick it up, kind of examine it?
Yeah, Peasley, for a moment, seems to like freak out when you do this, just because you're like touching the professor's belongings. But then she thinks better of it and doesn't stop you. Yeah, and you can pick up a bit of rock, unless you have any kind of geological background. It will strike you as it's sort of a faded, dirty yellow color. Has a particular smell that's tough to place. Maybe fist size, maybe a bit bigger.
Curious. Unless there's any mathematical properties, I'm not that curious.
She'll be paying especially close attention to Miss Peasley, almost as if Miss Peasley is more interesting to her than anything of her immediate surroundings. How she's walking, who she's paying the most attention to, if her eyes are drifting. I mean, like, she's fascinated with the fear that she felt off of this girl. So it's the Peasley show for her currently.
Yeah, Peasley is, there are polite ways of doing this, right? And Peasley is doing that to a hilt, trying to move all of you along to what will turn out to be the professor's study. You sort of think this is like, she knows she has a job, right? She needs to get you to him. Nothing else sort of matters. Like, once she has done that, she has checked that box, and she has fulfilled her client's wishes. That's kind of what you're getting from her by way of motivation. So, like, she will kind of close the door behind you, she'll lock it, and then she will stand a little too close maybe to whoever's last in line, like, encouraging them to exit her personal space and keep moving further down the hall.
She'll make a passing comment to Spencer while she's locking one of those doors. It's like, I don't remember recommending her, but I can see why I did. I like her.
Spencer kind of turns around in some surprise. He's pretty much forgotten that there's anybody in the room other than him and the books. He's kind of been looking through them. Oh, see if I can get a hold of that. I wouldn't read that play if I were you.
Don't even do the first act. Don't risk it. Just don't.
Nice.
Kind of looks over shoulder. Yes. Well, this is another thing that strikes me as somewhat odd. Did you see the date on this letter? This date on this letter is almost 30 years to the day.
To the day. Agreed.
Yes, indeed. And it's most curious how all of our signatures appear upon it, because, my dear, I'm sure you are nowhere near approaching the age of 30. So how you could have signed this letter is quite beyond me.
And she winks at you and kind of just moves around you. She's like, well, we don't call ourselves esoterics for nothing, and continues down.
No, indeed not. Well, lead on, Miss Beasley.
I'm sure Dr. Soon could tell us many things about space and time are not what we quite understand.
Well, welcome to Osterman's study. This room is much like the rest of the house that you have seen so far, with more of those very neat stacks of contemporary books, kind of placed out of the way and taken off the shelves and replaced by more esoteric, that's going to be the word of the day, I think, reading matter. Professor Osterman is sitting initially, but gets up when he sees you. He plays the professor archetype to a hilt. He is dressed in slacks, a tweed jacket. He does have a sort of a blindfold. I mean, it's sort of like a pirate's blindfold over one eye. He has a neatly trimmed beard, and as he rises, you notice that he moves somewhat stiffly, but extends a hand to each of you to shake it.
Yeah, I extend it back.
Thank you for joining me. I appreciate the circumstances are most curious. Miss Peasley, you may leave. He sort of just speaks to her quite dismissively. You see she lingers for a moment and then steps out the door and closes it behind her. Osterman turns. Here, and he opens a drawer and takes out what you recall as the letter that you've sort of just seen a photograph of, and places it on his desk, which is very neat, very sparse. There's sort of some writing material, fountain pens, paper, but nothing really that you would expect to sort of show a personal touch. But he steps aside stiffly, motioning to it and inviting you to examine it should you choose to do so. This letter was in my estate's possession. Ms. Peasley brought it to my attention, given the upcoming date of this meeting, and so I am grateful that you have joined. I am very interested in your reactions to this letter, as I'm afraid I find it quite perplexing.
If I may, Spencer takes a pair of white kid gloves out of his pocket, puts them on. Out of another pocket, he takes a small monocle kind of magnifying glass, which he fixes into his eye, and a pair of tweezers as well. And he very carefully turns the letter over and examines it, and examines the signatures, examines the paper, holds it up towards the light to see the way the light falls through it, trying to ascertain whether this is actually genuine or whether this is some clever forgery. He's very, very carefully examining his own signature in particular.
Yeah, no roll required for this. 30 years, it's not an ancient amount of time. That said, it does age paper. Yeah, your assessment would be that it appears consistent with the amount of time that purportedly has passed, based on the date. The thing that is incongruent here is the fact that your signature, especially Spencer, would have likely changed quite substantially from when you were a young man. And so the signature that you see pinned here is the one you are currently using, but certainly not one that a version of yourself 20, 30 years younger would associate with you.
Okay, I'm going to pay particular attention to the way I've written my name, the way I've crossed the T and dotted the I in particular. And well, if I didn't know better, I would certainly say this is genuine, but I have no recollection of signing such a letter myself. I don't know about the rest of you.
I don't. Osterman, do you remember signing this letter or enlisting Miss Peasley in the first place?
I do not. However, and he kind of sits back down with a slight exhalation of air, like he is making a conscious effort to breathe in and out. Not labored, just conscious. But as you are perhaps aware, I suffered, I am told, an accident that has affected my memory deeply. While I am able to recall events within the past few years, beyond that, there's simply nothing. And so if this letter is dated accurately, and it seems that Mr. Raistlin would believe that is the case based on his examination, I would not remember it under any circumstances. It is further curious to me that this letter bears and was so focused on today's date, given matters that have evolved within the past 24 hours.
Really? What matters are these?
I was subject to, that is to say, my residence was subjected to a robbery.
Do you know
anything particular stolen, or anything stolen?
Only one thing. A prototype device that I was working on in my laboratory in my basement.
Now, if you're about to tell us that it was a device that enabled a man to travel through time, then I shall be very, very interested.
I would profess no such thing, which would be a truly marvelous feat, perhaps.
Yeah.
That said,
Explain how I managed to sign a letter written 30 years ago, the handwriting I use today.
he seems to think about that for a second, and then he smiles, like he was sort of thinking,
You
"Oh,
read those, I
humor,
take it.
yes, that would be funny." And so he laughs because we laugh at things that are funny. He laughs for sort of a moment too long, perhaps. Then sees that like no one else is laughing anymore. He stops. Um, While it is not a device that could manipulate time in the way that you suggest, Mr. Raistland, a feat I believe is beyond mankind's ability, it certainly was a device intended to test certain theories I have about the flow of time.
Fascinating.
Now, I want to know everything about this device, Professor, but I'm also curious, who are Walter and Ursula? Do you have any idea who they are?
Well, at least with respect to this individual, Walter, I believe it is the same individual I think responsible for the theft of the aforementioned device. I believe that it is a man, a doctor, by the name of
Walter
Walter
Kreis.
Kreutz,
Yeah.
a
Kreutz.
sometime rival of my theories.
He had that at the observatory.
That is correct.
And Ursula, I'm not sure.
Go ahead and give me a psychology roll.
Okay. That is 27. Let's see what I got.
Nice.
No, I only got a 20.
Yeah, he says he does not know her, but whether that is accurate or not, you have no means of knowing.
Do you know this man, Coitz? I know you said he's a rival of yours. Did you work together? Did you meet him, know him?
In the manner that one would professionally. We have not been colleagues as such, but he is known to me and he has been critical of me. And I believe that if he had the opportunity to subvert my research or perhaps claim it as his own, that he would do so. I do not think that he is a entirely wholesome individual. Perhaps his time alone in that observatory has done something to his mind. I have taken the liberty of asking Miss Peasley, prior to you joining me here today, to look into your respective backgrounds. Given the confluence of this letter, and he gestures to it, and your own reputations, I am hoping that you will agree that this presents an opportunity to assist one another in unraveling one mystery by perhaps correcting one wrong done to me. Dr. Song, you look like you're on the verge of something.
No, just quite confused at this point.
Yeah, and I'll say, Dr. Song, he appears like the man you remember, but the way he speaks, his tone of voice, the man you recall was pretty warm. That's not how you would describe this individual.
So I was wondering, in the letter, it says that you want to repay a favor. And how do you expect to do so?
Well, it is my hope, it is my belief that there is a connection between my research, the device that was taken, if indeed it was taken by Walter Kreutz, and the manner in which this letter came to be created. You see, I believe that time is, perhaps as we experience it, only one of several different strands. My research was intended to explore the possibility of those strands overlapping.
Overlapping, you say?
Imagine, Mr. Raceland, every decision that you have made in your life, large ones, small ones. Imagine the possibility of those decisions. Imagine that that possibility and the power thereof would manifest in an entirely separate reality in which that decision came to be.
You're talking of millions, if not billions of realities. Every single decision, every human takes at every moment of the day. If that were to create a new historical timeline, for want of a better expression,
Every breath, he says,
innumerable,
taking a
an
deep breath.
impossible number of different realities.
We're not talking about just infinities. We're talking about higher ordinality infinities. Infinities of infinite sets.
Quite so, Professor Larson. Quite so.
Forgive me, but it does sound a little unlikely.
To say the least. With great claims is warranted great skepticism. However, we have before us a piece of very difficult to rebut evidence that something has happened. And I believe you can assist in in unraveling this mystery, and if so, perhaps move forward the field of man's understanding of science for the benefit of
Are you quite well, sir?
he sort of begins to tremble. You can he's sort of got a blanket over his legs, and you can see it rumbling. And he's it's not quite a spasm, but his whole body seems to be vibrating.
Can I make I don't know, a psychology or maybe even a first aid or something like that?
I would accept first aid. I would accept medicine. I would also accept psychology. Those will each give you different pieces of information.
Yes, I'm going to try and attend to him and give him some first aid.
Okay. So Larson's going to do some first aid.
I'm going to go with the psychology.
Okay.
Oh, Jesus.
23, a success.
Okay, so we've got a first aid success.
I'm going to go with psychology as well.
Okay, go for it.
Psychology 2.
Okay, so an extreme success on that, yeah.
4.
Excellent. Yeah, get those good rolls out of the way now, exactly. Dr. Song, anything you wish to do?
Yeah, I'm going to try first aid.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
As soon as I find the right dice. There we are. 11. That's
Jesus, we're rolling like
All
champs.
right, excellent.
that's
Yeah,
a
again.
hard success, I think.
Let's get these out of the way. Dr. Sung, Flint, yeah, you spring to assist Professor Osterman. Your thinking is that he must be having some kind of, he's clearly experiencing convulsions. Maybe a seizure, although you've both seen, unfortunately, individuals who've suffered from seizures. This doesn't quite look like that, but nevertheless, it is the closest thing, and so you kind of help him to the floor, and you're looking for something that's not necessarily reflective of true reality, but fiction reality at the very least, to put in his mouth. In terms of the psychology rolls. The reason it doesn't strike you as a seizure, Julia and Spencer, is the way he moves. It reminds you of someone who is struggling. Not struggling against a medical condition, but struggling against something trying to compel his movements. And so that's why, set aside the kind of vibrating, but in terms of how his arms are moving, yeah, it seems like he's struggling with something. Julia, I mean, for you have unfortunately seen people struggle with spectral forces. This doesn't strike you as quite like that. It's more like he's possessed by something, like there's something inside him trying to get out. As Flint and Dr. Song get him to the ground, the only thing that comes out of his mouth, though, other than a strangled gurgle, is a spray of blood as he bites through his tongue and just sends a fountain of crimson across the room. With your successful first aid rolls, you avoid that and are able to quickly restrain him and get something in his mouth and keep him from choking on his own blood.
Recording has stopped.
Interesting. Fortunately, we have a backup recording and that is still going, so we don't need to worry about that.
Lord, Professor Osterman, what is wrong with him? He seems to be. It's almost like there is something trying to gain control of him that he's fighting against.
She's sitting on the desk with her leg crossed over one, and she's looking down after the spray of blood. She's like, I think we should let it come out. I'd like to speak with it. Or her, or him, or whomever it is.
Julia, this man's in distress. We need to help him.
Distress has layers. This is negligible compared to what I've seen. If I'm correct about what I'm seeing. I could be wrong.
This is a spectral possession, or a spirit, or some entity possessing the body, you believe?
I would anticipate a possession of some sort. What was the last thing that was said prior to the fit? Keeper, I'm actually asking you and the table. What was the last trigger to hit? What was the last conversation piece before he went into a fit?
He was trying to convince you that helping him recover this device that was stolen would be to your benefit in terms of unraveling the mystery of the letter and potentially advancing his research in such a way as to help mankind.
Is he going to be all right?
His convulsions are going slower. They were quite violent. You really had to exercise a fair bit of strength to hold him down. But it's almost like there's a wave that breaks and his back arches, and then his entire body goes limp. And out of his mouth that you've mostly stuffed up, but also his nostrils and the corners of his eyes, there is, well, his eye anyway. He's got the blindfold over the other one. There is this wisp of smoke, sort of purple tinged, that he emits. It's not like a thick smog of the stuff, but yeah, like someone had lit something inside him and snuffed it out, and that smoke is now coming out of him, and it dissipates.
Can I make an occult roll to see if this rings any bells with me in terms of what it might signify? Smoke coming out.
Yeah, you can automatically succeed on that. It would strike you as a possession, like he was Osterman was possessed by something.
Like the gate.
Well, and if it is a possession and something has left him, which would be consistent with that smoke coming, he will hopefully regain consciousness and, whatever had displaced him will have gone, and he'll be there.
Would he be potentially seeking another host?
That's possible, sure. Although the smoke has dissipated, so you don't see it. So if that is the case, might be difficult to ward yourself from. And I didn't hear anyone sort of shouting in, "Oh, great! I'm going to put myself right over his face and take a deep whiff," which would be amazing.
No, I'm going to go open up his eye patch now.
Okay.
But I hold my handkerchief over.
Yeah. As you do, Flint, Peasley comes through the door, having heard kind of the commotion. You suspect that she probably wasn't very far away. I mean, this all happened very quickly. Maybe she was even hanging out right outside the door. That's possible. And she will just be very briefly in hysterics at seeing, I mean, the blood and the situation. Maybe even as she came in, the blood spray would have gotten her. We can be as graphic as we want with that. But he doesn't. Osterman doesn't awaken. And Flint, when you look at the eye underneath the blindfold, it looks just like the other eye. That said, both eyes have now turned white.
Oof.
And so when you lift, when you sort of move to lift the blindfold, you see that his left eye is white, and then when you move the blindfold, you see his right eye looks normal, but also just completely white.
So like no iris, no pupil,
Correct.
just completely white right the way over.
Correct. What happened, Miss Peasley?
Now calm yourself, my dear. Calm yourself. He's going to be quite all right.
He needs medical help.
Some fit. Yes, my colleagues here have medical training. They are dealing with him. He's calming down now. He's going to be quite fine, I'm sure. We will, of course, arrange for him to see a specialist just in order to confirm that his health is intact. Don't you worry yourself now, my dear.
She will crouch down by him. She'll sort of pick up his limp hand. There's no resistance. He's shallowly breathing, but that's about it. She takes up his hand. You see her kiss his left hand briefly, and then she says, "I'm going to I'm going to ring for an ambulance."
Yes, my dear. Why don't you call for his physician? Absolutely, very good idea. Don't you fret. Now, off you go. Off you go and make the telephone call, and
Yep.
we'll take care of him in the meantime.
You have a little bit of time before she's back, and an ambulance is going to arrive. What would you like to use that time for, if anything?
Tell everybody. So Peasley's hiding something, and he was hiding something about Ursula. And I don't know. We didn't talk about this, but that purple. You all had the dream, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes, quite the dream. I am kind of almost sort of over my shoulder talking to them, but I'm much more interested in looking to see around the study if there's any notes, if he's got a bureau or a desk or anything there, if he's got any notes there that are to do with this, because I'm assuming he's unconscious at the moment. So I'm thinking if he gets taken away to hospital, he's going to be there. He might see a while before he wakes up. Tells us anything more. I want to see if there's anything around here, and that can tell me a little bit more about what he was wanting to talk to us about this machine.
Yeah. So good. So that's searching through the desk. Any other actions?
I'm gonna go try and get downstairs where he had his device. He said that was
good.
downstairs, right?
Yep.
She's going to make sure to confiscate the letter that was signed by her prior to her even being born. And then if she can straddle him while she's on the ground, she wants to just do a quick physical rundown on him. Is there any other places that are emitting smoke? Are there actual physical evidence of a vehicular accident? Did that really happen? Like, literally, she's just going to do a quick rundown on him.
Sounds good. And Dr. Song?
Now, I'm going to be having a look around the room.
Okay.
See if I can see anything out of the ordinary,
Yeah.
especially if it mentions Ursula or Walter.
Yeah, he said his laboratory was in the basement, right? That's what I was trying to go to. I can't remember.
Yes.
Yeah. That's where I wanted to go.
So you're going to find a couple of things. Let's go in reverse order here. Dr. Song, so before you will ultimately be ushered out by Peasley and the ambulance, looking around, there are, just given what Osterman was talking about, there's a number of books here in the study that strike you as of interest. So there are things like Marvels of Science by F. Morrister, Roger Bacon's Thesaurus Chemicus, and the Turba Philosophorum, edited by Arthur Edward Waite. These would all strike you as sort of weird intersections between the occult and legitimate science, and all, not so very contemporary. But given some of the things Osterman was saying, they certainly catch your notice. The other thing that you will notice, this is stacked away among a bunch of books, so out of the way. But as you go through them, you will find a picture, a photograph actually. And let me copy that photograph for you. Let's see if I can do it like that. Ba-ba-bum. done, and you will find it at the bottom of your notes in just a moment.
May 6th, 1921. And since I guess maybe people watching this one know, maybe I should describe it, or someone should describe it.
Oh, so for the stream, what we'll probably do is have these kind of pop up separately. So no need to describe it unless you need to do so, kind of to as you're talking about it. But I'm going to let Dr. Sung kind of think about that photograph for a moment. Julia, you examine Osterman's body. Man seems to have gone into some kind of a coma. In terms of older injuries, you do find some scarring on his head that you think would be consistent if you were in an automobile accident and smacked your head and maybe suffered other injuries. You don't find anything that would account for the stiffness as he was moving around. But that could be arthritis, you know, he's not a young man. So that could be any number of other things. You don't find anything else, though, that is sort of out of the ordinary.
The left hand that the attorney kissed, is there a ring on that hand?
No. And it strikes you like it was just a sign of affection and deep caring.
So as she's like moving around, pulling back collars, checking them out, things of that nature, she's going to call over her shoulder to Dr. Soon and say, did he have a daughter, a niece, family?
No,
He never mentioned one.
not as far as you're aware, Dr. Song.
Looking dead at his face, is there any familial resemblance between he and Peasley?
No.
And just last passing comment she's going to make as she's like turning over his pumps, like, it's curious that he didn't have us meet the day before his contraption was due to be stolen.
Yeah.
That would have made more sense, wouldn't it? And perhaps it could have been prevented.
And she throws you a wink and a smile.
Let's jump over Flint since he has left the room. Spencer, the desk is pretty much empty. I mean, this doesn't look used. But what strikes you as curious is, Osterman had the letter handy, ready to show you. It looks like he had other things ready to show you as well. I mean, imagine like pulling open the drawer and there's just a sheet of paper with a diagram on it. And, kind of connecting the dots that we're about to with Flint going into the basement. This strikes you as a diagram of the device that was taken. And it's not... It is not a scientific diagram in that it is not like labeling the different pieces or showing you the interior, but it is a fair sketch of the exterior of
That's
a
like a circuit diagram, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And if accurate, there are some measurements on there. The device would stand about 4 feet tall. The weight is listed as around 100 kilograms. And it looks to you like, at first you think like maybe an obelisk. It looks like this very narrow pyramidal structure. It has any number of buttons and wires kind of coming out of it. They don't make any sense to you. And at the top there is what looks like a gemstone, kind of held in place.
What color is the gemstone?
I mean, it's tough to tell from just this black and white sketch.
Okay.
Some dark colored stone.
I'll call Dr. Soong over. Dr. Soong, I think I seem to have found some kind of schematic of this device that Professor Osterman was talking about. Can you make anything of this? It's not really my field.
I'll take a look.
Boy.
Related to physics, then I might have some grasp of it.
You would, but you do not. It doesn't strike you at all familiar like anything you would have used in a laboratory. It doesn't show the interior workings of the thing, so maybe that's where the mystery lies. But from the exterior, I mean, it just looks like a jumble, like a made-up thing.
Are there any
don't recognize anything here.
Sorry. Are there any like markings on it, like any writing or anything like that, or any symbols or anything?
There are symbols. You you don't recognize them, Spencer, and
Would
Dr.
an,
Sung doesn't recognize them either.
would
It's
an occult or a Cthulhu Mythos be in
Yeah,
any?
if you you can pocket this easily enough and later study it, and you can go ahead and give me a Cthulhu Mythos roll.
Okay.
Flint. Yeah, you're not going to find much in the basement, but what you do see, which is what you do see, which is curious to you, is it's a well-designed laboratory. It's a roughly square room, lab equipment on the outside. The thing of interest here is the thing that's not here. You can see clearly in the center of the room there would be this device. In your mind's eye, looking back on this scene later, you'll be able to transplant the diagram that Spencer shows you on the paper with the empty space that is here, and you can line up kind of where the dust is not as built up, right? Like you can tell that there was something heavyish that stood here for a while. But curiously, like this is the basement. It would be challenging to have moved this thing out of the basement as part of a robbery, right? Like, is it possible? Yeah, I suppose. But you would have had to take it through the front door or the back door. It is like 4 feet tall. So yeah, it would have been noticeable. So you're not quite sure how it was removed.
Yeah. Looks like his accident wasn't that bad, and that he couldn't continue to make these extremely complicated devices and have a laboratory and everything.
Shortly after all of you take these actions, Peasley is going to come back. An ambulance is going to arrive from a nearby hospital that she dialed. Professor Osterman, obviously not too difficult to get an ambulance for him. And you will all be ushered out in one fashion or another. Not to say you might not have the opportunity of returning, but unless you choose to be quite rude or take other action, you're going to be ushered out.
Is Miss Peasley out as well, where I could have a conversation with her?
Yeah, absolutely.
So just standing there again, watching her body language in the rain, if it's still raining, and the whole episode.
Oh, of course it's raining. Oh, yeah.
Of course it's raining.
Yeah.
It's the Cthulhu
How
game.
could it not?
She's going to look her dead in the face and ask her, how long has he been hosting more than one personality?
Well, one personality. Well, he changed after the accident.
And it was just after the accident?
Of course. She looks at you like, what else could it possibly have been?
Perfect. So at least she's oblivious on that end. Okay, we're good.
Yeah, I'd like to take her aside for a moment if I get the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, she's sort of like she'll be locking up. She's kind of making sure that the property is secured. So she's available for all of you to speak to. Yeah.
Miss Peasley, are you aware of the theft last night from the residence?
No. When Professor Osterman informed you about it, that was the first I learned of it. Now you're kind of connecting the dots that like she was definitely eavesdropping.
So he hasn't reported it to the police?
Well, it just happened, and I imagine the professor was a private man. It would not surprise me if he did not want to publicize something like this. Indeed, setting aside the letter, it's possible that he might have called upon individuals such as yourselves regardless.
I'm just wondering, if something was stolen from my house, I would be on to the police first thing the next morning to report the theft and get them on the case to try and find the perpetrator. But it doesn't appear to have done so.
Peasley's hands sort of open up, before her, sort of as a... That sounds like it would be a reasonable thing to do, but that's apparently not what he did, so I don't know.
He lives here alone? There would have been nobody else in the house at the time?
As far as I'm aware, that's correct.
No sign of a break-in or anything like that, or was there a break-in or
Not
no broken
that,
windows?
not that I was able to see. Obviously, I'm a little beside myself still, but no, I don't know if you saw any such signs of forced entry, but I did not.
I don't recall doing so. Would it be all right if we stayed in the house just a short while longer, just to look for that ourselves?
Well, if you insist.
Because it is connected with the matter he's asking us to look into, and I think it would be appropriate.
All right, and she unlocks the door. But
Well, you can leave the key with us. We'll return it to your offices and later on today.
oh,
that's-
I'm sorry, I can't. I could not do that.
Oh, of course. Well, I mean, we won't be very long. We won't be very long.
She will kind of hover around the house, but she'll open it back up for you.
I'm gonna approach her as well. I think. Peasley, I think I'd like to hire you as my attorney.
Oh well. Thank you. I perhaps we could schedule something in the near future to discuss the details.
So I'm interested. I feel like there's something you're not telling me.
Oh.
About how close you and Osterman are, and about your interest in this meeting.
She blushes slightly, but quickly recovers. The professor was very dear to me. It's true.
How did that come to pass?
He and I have worked together for a long time in terms of various legal matters that he has had over the years.
What sort of legal matters?
And she'll provide you sort of a very mundane set of, things that one would work on, from wills to, litigation that maybe was brought by a student, but there's nothing in there that would strike you as kind of unusual.
Okay. You understand though, he asked us to look into something, and the thing that he's asking us to look into, it might help him.
I was intending to raise this with you at an appropriate time. I understand that the professor was interested in you providing a particular service to look into perhaps this theft. I'm sure that setting aside his current state, that is what he would want, and to the extent I am able, I would facilitate that. If you are willing to assist in this matter, I would be willing to assist you in turn.
We are, but we need you to be completely honest with us.
Very well. And she awaits whatever questions you have.
So, do you have anything other than an attorney-client relationship with Osterman?
The professor and I had a personal relationship for a number of years. However, since his accident, that has not been the case.
Why are you so interested in what the meeting was about?
Well, it is shortly, if the dates on the letter are to be believed, it is the reason for my acquaintance with the professor.
Do you know this Walter Kreutz? Oh, I keep saying that wrong.
I do not.
Do you know this Ursula?
I do not.
Why would he be less than honest with us about who this Ursula was?
I don't know that he was.
Yeah. Curious.
Has she or he, to her recollection, suffered vivid, horrific dreams in the last 2 weeks?
No, I sleep quite well.
Has he made mention of suffering from such dreams or lack of sleep?
No, but that is the type of personal information he hasn't shared in a long time.
When did he have his accident again?
About 5 years ago.
And since then, his field of study has changed along with his personality, his memory, his interests, things of that nature.
His interests have certainly evolved. What do you expect to be the first step in your investigation? She asks.
I think we gotta look into this Walter Creus.
Well, I, for one, would be interested to visit the observatory.
That might be what we have to eventually do.
If you require a vehicle, please let me know. I'm happy to facilitate that, including a driver, or if you wish me to drive you. However, I or the firm can be of assistance. Please let us know.
Would you be able to procure the address of this Walter Coitz for us?
Yeah, she can. It's going to be the same as the observatory, though. The observatory was turned into his personal residence.
Yeah, I want to do a little investigation about him and his academic history and
okay. So let's
like
while we proceed to that, and you can each kind of tell me what, if anything, you're wishing to research, including the house. Time is going to be, a flexible, timey-wimey type of thing. So Flint, yeah, what research would you like to do, either in the house or outside of it?
Yeah, I mean, eventually I'm going to look into what Walter has been studying, where he's been studying, that sort of thing, and the development of this observatory.
Okay, that sounds. What are you focusing on?
Probably this observatory and how that was established.
And are we looking at the library use role, or do you wish to argue in favor of any other?
Well, why don't we look at the old skill sheet and see which ones I'm going to argue in front of.
Okay. While you're thinking about that, we'll go to Dr. Song. Anything you wish to do?
Yeah, I want to look into Walter Coitz's academic record. He should presumably have some kind of publications I can look at.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That can be library use, or it can be one of your science skills.
I would prefer to use physics or astronomy.
By all means. And Spencer, anything you wish to do?
I think the first thing I would like to do is I would like to go down to the laboratory.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to look to see if I can see signs of a break-in, not just in the laboratory, but also just look around the house as well, see if I can see any windows that might have been tampered with.
Yeah. So Spencer, you can.
And also in the laboratory, I want to look around and see if there's any notes, if he's been taking notes on his experimentations, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of books in the house as well, so I want to see if there's any books that might relate and grab them, have a leaf through them, and actually even take them with me.
Yeah.
Borrow them.
Yeah. So Peasley will not want you to take any books away. That said, if you wish to make some kind of skill roll to do so, you could attempt it.
Well, I'm happy to take out a notebook and to take some notes and say, I may, if I'm not able to take these away, may I come back and do some consultation at a later stage, but perhaps later today, tomorrow.
Yeah, she's happy to facilitate that. She just doesn't want anything removed from the property. And Julia, what would you like to do by way of research?
While she'll probably linger in the house, she'll linger in the house with Spencer, and she's going to take, if she can, an occult approach to the townhouse. She's very interested in that entity that was attempting to possess the professor. Who were they actually speaking to? Were they speaking to it? Were they speaking to the professor?
Mm-hmm.
So if she can go through any of her chants, her rituals, anything that she did with the children of Pythagoras, either in the basement, the study, or his bedroom, to try to make contact or to listen, or you know what I mean. They hear between walls, see beneath the eyes, that thing.
Yeah. All right. So proceeding in let's go to some of the research, because there'll potentially be some reading material there. So Flint.
I'm going to argue for education because I'd be using my educational contacts and all the people I know at the university and soon to try and figure out how this observatory was created.
Okay. Yeah. I'll buy that.
And it is a 43, so success.
Okay. Just a regular success?
Yes, just a regular success.
Okay. So in looking at the observatory itself, there's going to be a couple of things you discover. Yeah. So, the regular success. Sorry. So first of all, you are going to find yourself a pretty cool schematic of the observatory.
Neato.
Yeah. Let me. I need to rotate this. Image options, size and rotation. Why can't I rotate it? Okay. I have a backup strategy for providing that to you because you may want that, and looking at it sideways is not going to be super helpful to you. So here is my backup strategy for providing it. There we go. Okay. So yeah, you find the schematic. And before I provide you any other potential information, Dr. Song, how did your roll go?
I got 51, so that's a pass.
Okay. So there'll be two pieces of information that I put at the bottom of the notes, in addition to the schematic. And you will obviously find other information in terms of Walter Kreuz's education, for example, where he studied. I'm happy to answer that. It's all fairly mundane, however. These two newspaper articles, however, would catch your eye. And you're welcome to read those, and we will come around to you to actually read them to the rest of the group shortly. Spencer, you will do a thorough search of the house. There is absolutely no sign of breaking and entering. You have no idea, maybe he was lying, maybe something else happened, maybe he was complicit in removing it, maybe there was an elaborate Ocean's 11 type heist where they had a moving van outside the house to remove this thing.
Drag marks on the floor where
No, excellent question. But no drag marks. In terms of the books, though, there were the ones I mentioned earlier when Dr. Sung was looking, but there's going to be one that catches your eye, and I don't think you have a copy in your bookstore, but you certainly wouldn't mind one. It is going to be Yog-Sothoth and Other Horrors by Edward Pickman Derby,
interesting,
quite controversial volume. You do not have much time to read it, unfortunately, but that is. If you wanted to try and smuggle it out, you can write it down as a thing you have. Otherwise, it is tantalizingly there waiting for you.
I think I might just do that.
Okay.
What particularly pertinent?
Would you like to make either a stealth or a sleight of hand roll?
I'll give you a little sleight of hand roll.
Right, go for it.
I'll get on.
Julia, you can go ahead and give me a Cthulhu Mythos roll.
No, I failed my sleight of hand roll.
Okay.
But I'm going to push the roll.
Okay. So
what I'm going to do is I'm going to just where the book came out, as I sort of attempt to stuff it in my trousers or something underneath my jacket, and that's not going to work. And also there's a gap in the book, so I'm just going to move the books around a little bit, fill up the gap, and I'm going to get some other mundane bits of paper and a folder perhaps, and I'm going to attempt to sort of place it in that and hold it, almost hide it in plain sight, rather than trying to.
You can absolutely push the roll. If you fail, you will come up with this elaborate idea, and you will execute it in plain sight of Peasley. Like, you will just be so obsessed with making this happen, you will not even realize that she's there, obviously seeing you trying to steal something.
Yeah. and I made a 27, which is not quite a hard success, but it's a success.
Okay, you've got yourself that book, and we will worry about the benefits and detriments of reading it should you have the opportunity to do so. Julia,
Can I ask something about
Yeah.
that photograph
Mm.
as well?
Yeah.
Am I right in thinking that's Albert Einstein?
I don't know that Spencer would necessarily know that, but Dr. Sung would certainly recognize that. He's an up and comer.
He's an up-and-comer,
Yeah.
indeed, yeah. Smart.
Julia, how did that Cthulhu Mythos roll go?
Julia got a hard because apparently threes are my number
man.
for tonight. Yeah.
Excellent. So yeah, you do your sort of occult stuff, if you will, to make a connection here, see what was going on. You're not sure what transpired with Osterman. There was, to say it plainly, there was some kind of magic going on, to be sure, but you're not sure what it was. It wasn't familiar to you. In the basement, however, you get the same sense, and you believe, based on your past experiences, that there was something here. It was removed. There is sort of residue, if you will, on how stuff, the leftover effects of hypergeometry, and your sense is that something was displaced. It was in one place, and then it was by arcane means transferred to another place, with no one needing to push it or lift it up. They just did that, and you moreover think that whatever was responsible for doing it, they actually were here. Like you have traces of someone or something being here and leaving with the device.
Interesting.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and read those articles. Flint, would you, for the benefit of the group, read? We'll just say the first one because that's the one we have in front of us.
Sounds good. Letter from the editor, the Intellectual Observer, February 17th, 1892. Regarding our scientific community, we are saddened to report that Dr. Walter Creus remains infirm following a laboratory accident involving his fellow scientist, Dr. Adhemar Osterman. We understand Dr. Creus' assistant and sister, Ursula Creus, is caring for her brother while he recovers. Dr. Osterman is said to be convalescing at a private facility, and we wish them all a fast recovery. And then an advertisement for Illick's restaurant.
Yeah. Unrelated to the investigation. And Dr. Sung, would you mind reading us the second of the newspaper articles?
Okay. Disappearance of local woman triggers observatory search. Chicago Tribune, June 21st, 1897. Following the disappearance of local laboratory assistant Ursula Kreutz, police have opened a criminal investigation into her possible murder. Ms. Kreutz was reportedly last seen by her brother, Dr. Walter Kreutz, well known for his construction of the new observatory. While Dr. Kreutz has not been named a suspect in the investigation, police have carried out an extensive search of the grounds of the Kreutz Observatory, which recently finished construction and was expected to open to the public in the near future.
There we are.
Yeah, along with an advert for Antarctic whalebone.
Yeah. Real Antarctic whale bones.
Real Antarctic.
Except no imitations.
Oh.
So it sounded like there was one vote in favor of going to the observatory. Is that
Yes.
what we are proceeding towards?
Well, Flint is going to notice his firearm skill and go and gear up before heading to that observatory. But that is where he wants to go.
I mean, listen, book club can be dangerous.
Book club can be dangerous.
First room book club.
That's right. Check your firearm skill. Great.
Yeah.
Can I ask, the Intellectual Observer, where's that based? Where's that?
Oh, that is a national scientific magazine.
In the United States.
In
yeah.
the United States, correct.
So the first thing that strikes me is that this date, February the 17th, 1892, seems to roughly coincide with what Osterman is talking about in his letter to us a few short years since that horrible night with Walter and Ursula. which would kind of seem to line up with that. So if there was a laboratory accident, that might be a horrible night.
I share your concern, Spencer.
Also, the Chicago Tribune article is
Same
the
date.
exact date of this letter that he has written for us. He doesn't mention about this poor woman, Ursula Kreutz.
Yes, do you think her disappearance was the trigger for the letter, or did it happen afterwards?
I can't help but think it might have been afterwards, otherwise surely he would have mentioned it.
Also, I'm so glad this ridiculous fashion for whalebone has disappeared.
I can't wait to go to Ilik's restaurant, though. We should stop there on our way up.
Well, I will note for the group, in terms of just timing, we have a little bit more before we reach our sort of 2-hour break mark, but we are coming up on it. So our trip to the observatory is going to be right after that is when we will take our break. So if you're sort of on the edge of your seat, it is coming up.
Was there anything in the laboratory in terms of notebooks, scientific journals, or anything like that?
Yeah, great question. There certainly is a lot of scope for people to take notes, lots of writing implements and pieces of paper. Nothing written on any of them.
I'm wondering if this was stolen along with the machine. And you say, Miss Chase, you say that the machine was removed not in the usual fashion, but by using some type of incantation, some kind of.
Yes, Mr. Spencer, that would be correct. Not by physical means, not a physical break-in, but by way of arcane magic, it was displaced.
I don't like the word magic. It seems so terribly common. But it's by arcane means. Yeah.
And Julia, now that we know where this observatory is, wasn't that near where your cult was, Geneva Lake?
Oh, Al is so brilliant. Keeper, can you confirm?
Yeah. It's you might have known about the observatory maybe from proximity. It's not like you were neighbors. But you know, it's Lake Geneva, so yeah, you would have been in that area.
Pretty rich cult.
He looks at you, she looks at you, and her eyes go really wide and flicker for a moment, as if like, how the hell did she miss that? And she says, "There's a reason why you're in book club. I'm so happy that you're here. Yes, that is where our headquarters were. The cold is no more, but we are heading that direction. I do know of a lovely bed and breakfast there that we can stay at."
Yeah, it's all a little too rich for a Southsider like me, but.
Does the name Umer Atawil mean anything to anyone?
If people wish to make Cthulhu Mythos rolls,
It means something to Al the player.
That's a success. No, it's not. It's not
a success.
That is a 2. I don't think I've ever gotten an extreme success on the Cthulhu Mythos roll. But yeah, that's a 2.
Okay, it sounds like Flint is the only one who made his Cthulhu Mythos roll, and that with a I think it's an extreme success, right? Because it's a 2.
A fifth of 10, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't celebrate yet.
So you can go ahead and give me a sanity roll.
Oh wow! Extreme success. Yeah, you
It's
did.
Cthulhu Mythos.
That is 43, so success.
Okay. You'll just lose a single point.
Yep.
And the reason for this is you are a code breaker. You are used to connecting disparate dots and finding the pattern between them. And the pattern that is beginning to emerge to you is... I'm getting some feedback from... Maybe now it's gone? Okay, it's gone. That is emerging is disquieting to you, especially with Julia talking about magical rituals that can teleport things, because you recall in some of your esoteric readings as part of book club, hearing of an entity and its servant, and Uma Atawil is known as an emissary for a largely inscrutable entity that goes by the name in some texts of Yog-Sothoth, and it is known as the Opener of Ways. What this entity is very disputed. All texts. It's largely of interest to medieval magicians, very few of whom are still around. Looking at you, Spencer. But the connection between a dream in which you see something going by this name and a portal, and the connection to this ancient being, some of which you have had to combat their servants in the course of book club before, and now hearing that there's a device that was magically displaced, along with all the time hijinks that are going on, you see that there's a pattern there. You just can't quite figure it out yet.
Yeah.
All right. How are you driving to the observatory?
Do we want to gear up first, or do you want to tell us what we have, or what else we're trying to get?
I'm happy for you to kind of have what you would reasonably have. If there's something specific you want to make sure to carry with you, that's fine as well. That's not necessarily the case that you need to announce it. If we can, imagine you having it later on.
The usual flashlight, crowbar, dynamite.
Okay. Great. So you've got some dynamite with you. You've got some guns with you. You've got some flashlights with you. It's
I just want a shotgun and a kosh.
Okay.
But I am going to bring any books that I think might prove useful. If there are anything in it that contains potentially an incantation or something like that I might require for whatever eventuality we might discover here. I'm also kind of when we're speaking about this Umurat Tower, I say so this Yog-Sothoth, opener of ways. Well, I suppose in order to open a way, you would need some kind of key, would you not?
You need a gate or something. You need a way through, or it wants to have a way through. If this thing is dangerous or bad, there's a lot that we don't know about what's out there and what sort of entities are out there. And so if this thing wants to get through, it might be a really bad thing. But it also might be able to not just get through dimensions like we were talking about before, of which there are infinite numbers of them, but it might be able to go in through time, or if time could just be another dimension, right? If you go in this universe, we're at this time. If you go into the next dimension, the next universe over, they're at a different time.
Or if what the professor was saying can be deemed correct or accurate or reasonable, then perhaps you walk into a different dimension, and even if it's not at a different time, your entire surroundings could be different. For instance, there may be a dimension in which the dinosaurs still roam the earth, or humankind has been superseded by another sentient species which now dominates the planet.
If there are infinite possibilities out there, which we should believe there are, then that's not a matter of if; it's just a matter of which one.
Folks, that's a lot of crazy talk for a very simple question of: are you sharing one car, or are you taking two cars? Maybe each of them.
Do cars even truly exist?
Book club is in session, honey.
I'm gonna recommend that neither Flint nor Spencer is like the driver.
I think we need to get Miss Peasley to drive us so that we can have a conversation in the back of the car.
They sitting in the car with the
She's
engine
losing sand checks as we keep talking.
So Miss Peasley will pull up in the morning. This will be sort of the start of the day.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not raining. It's just sunny skies, no clouds. She pulls up in kind of what is clearly like a vehicle from the law firm. It is quite expensive, heavy-set car, plenty of space for all of you. And yeah, she's behind the wheel. And will either pick you up individually or all at once. She expresses her gratitude for you sort of agreeing to, take this on. Again, she'll convey that there has unfortunately not been any improvement in the professor's condition. He remains comatose, but he's breathing. And so she'll go ahead and start driving towards Lake Geneva. Yeah, Julia.
Really fast. Unless I missed this, and I might have. The specific gem that was used to activate this device. Are there any other of those gems in the house that we can take with us?
Ah, boy, it's it was just a sketch of what this thing looked like. That said, yeah, go ahead and give me a luck roll.
I almost want to put this on somebody else. Holy crap! I'll probably be the first investigator to die. I rolled a 6.
Okay, yeah, you probably will be.
I'll be the first one.
Yeah, you find a stone that you think is a spitting image. Given it's a sketch, there's some possibility of ambiguity, but you've got a really good feeling that this is the right kind of stone.
I'm going to hand that to Dr. Soon.
Dr. Sung, you'll probably be able to recognize just by virtue of your education. This is a pretty rare stone. It's a black opal. This is small, but they don't need to be big to be worth a lot of money. So you think to yourself, that's half a year's salary there.
That's worth holding on to.
Yeah.
I'll put that in a safe
I don't
place.
know if that's going to help us, but I feel like if it does come into a point where it needs to be executed upon, you would be the person to do it.
You can record that you have a black opal. So the drive to Lake Geneva is uneventful. It is very scenic. It's a beautiful area. It takes a couple of hours to get out of Chicago and close to the observatory. Where we pick up with all of you is when you're about a couple of miles out from the observatory. You're driving through sort of a forested area. As you can imagine, it's an observatory, so it needs to be on sort of a rise, and it needs to have cleared forest around it. But that said, here it's still very forested, and it's probably around 11 o'clock at this point. And you can go ahead and give me listen rolls. Oh, and also, in case you're wondering, Virginia Peasley, she's an NPC. She just fails her rolls, so don't worry about her making any listen rolls.
NPC, yeah.
That's a hard success.
Hard here.
Okay.
Glad I'm driving with you.
You hear a muffled sound, like maybe from an explosion, like a boom. It's tough to hear over the sound of the motor, to be sure, but it's coming from up ahead.
Did anyone else hear that?
Yes, ma'am, I did. She's like jumping up and putting her hands on the seat and looking out the window.
Virginia looks back and says, "What's that? I didn't hear anything."
Mm-hmm.
And as she looks back at you, you see, well, the air is visibly rippling, like it's a shockwave that is kind of coming a few feet above the ground and just expanding outwards towards you.
I think you should stop the car.
Stop the car!
Uh-huh. And she looks back, and that's, of course, when the shockwave hits the vehicle. All of you can make me power rolls.
Oh, God.
Shit. 48, success.
Okay.
That's a success.
If you
Success.
if you succeeded, here's what you if you did not succeed, you participate in a car accident. The car is going to spin out of control. There's going to be a tree that finds you. If you did succeed on your power roll, you also witnessed that. But as the car spins, because the car seems to sort of die, its engine seems to die as this shockwave overtakes you, and Peasley sort of seems to go unconscious for a moment, and the wheel goes spinning, and the car begins rotating. And as it rotates, folks who made their power rolls, you see in the woods around you, it's mostly a single lane road, you think you see yourself staring out at the vehicle. So imagine if you're just standing in the woods looking at what's happening. And so, Flint, you will see yourself, for example. You'll also see others. As it spins, then you're gone. And the car spins again. And this time you see the scene of a car accident. And this is just like a split second, right? Like as it's rotating. But you see your body kind of strewn bloody by the side of the road. You see a car turned over, the very car that you are in. A final spin, and this time you see a different car accident. The car, the side of it has sort of wound its way around one of the trees, and there's just a lot of blood, but a very different looking car accident. But then you end up in your car accident. Now, because you made your listen rolls and you shouted a warning, the accident still happens, but all of you were able to brace yourselves for the impact. And so, if you, whether or not you made your listen roll, you all communicated, and so you do not take any damage, except for Ms. Peasley. Ms. Peasley flies out of her seat through the windshield and will end up somewhere in the forest a few dozen feet ahead of you. There is a lot of blood on the dashboard from where she broke through the glass. The last recollection you have of her is of her screaming as she is jettisoned from the vehicle. The car is totaled.
I get out and help everyone out as best as I can, and then go looking for Miss Peasley to try and give her first aid.
Yeah, you've got cuts and bruises, but no damage taken.
What happened? What was that? Is everybody all right?
I think so. Well,
Stevie.
maybe not Miss Peasley. I'll be following the old man to go and help.
You find her, and the angle at which her neck is makes clear that there's no helping her.
Ugh.
Jesus, what was that?
Seems to be some kind of explosion. Are there mines in this area?
It was like a shock wave. The air seemed to almost ripple like a heat haze or something coming towards us.
Some sort of explosion. Yeah, God.
Yes, I didn't hear an explosion, but certainly some sort of force hit us.
When I saw myself standing, watching, what was I wearing?
Good question. Not what you're wearing right now.
Okay.
Did anyone see anything odd during the crash? I could have sworn I saw a different car.
Yes.
Yes. I saw at least 2 accidents, as if I was watching them, as if I was in them. Same location, same car, but a different course of events. It's very hard. To explain.
It's like what Osterman was talking about.
I was wondering if he did have a car accident. Did we somehow see his accident?
Perhaps. I thought it was this car that I saw, but it wasn't on this side of the road. It was on the other side of the road, and it was overturned onto its roof rather than wrapped around this tree. And I don't. It's all a bit of a blur, to be honest. I may have concussion.
Well, picking yourselves up, what is your next move? The car is wedded to that tree.
Are we closer to like back civilization, or are we closer to our destination?
Oh, I mean, you're just like a mile and a half, 2 miles from the observatory.
Okay.
We should go to the observatory, see if we can find a telephone.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I'm not sure. Who do we call for poor Mr. Peasley? I suppose the police?
Yeah, the police will have to help her.
You know, I realized that we should have it raining, because then we would have like a Rocky Horror Picture Show moment, right? Okay.
There's a light.
That's right. Except it's daylight. It's the middle of the day. So you will be able to pick yourselves up. You can kind of put Miss Peasley in a respectful position. If you so choose.
Close her eyes, cover her with a blanket.
Yeah. And then you pick yourselves up. take anything out of the trunk that you want. Fortunately, you didn't have any very unstable substances back there. Yeah, you proceed to the observatory. You are on foot, so it takes you, a good half hour. When you emerge from the woods is also when you sort of see up the hill where the observatory is. It's clear cut all the way around. And as you emerge from the tree line, you see that the largest of the domes, I'll share a picture shortly, but the largest of the domes of the observatory is open. So you can imagine there's kind of the telescope inside there, right, that would be looking out. And there is a beam of light that comes out of that big observatory. And it terminates at a particular point in the sky. It's not like it hits anything, it just sort of emerges. If you imagine taking like a torch or like a flashlight, right? And you shine it and you see the beam of light and it just stops, like it hits a wall, except there's nothing there in the sky, until there is a portal that begins to spiral into existence, not unlike kind of the spiraling portal that you all recall from your dreams, but it's in the sky quite high above you.
Just looking at that plan of the observatory, where does the light appear to be coming from?
From the largest dome of the observatory.
It's the Equatorial Room. Yeah.
The Equatorial Room, exactly right. Excellent astronomical knowledge. I had to look that term up. I was unfamiliar with it. I do have a picture of the observatory. I just need to find it.
Yeah, we got it. We get it. We got it from our research.
Oh no, that's the floor plan I was going to share.
Okay.
Oh, an actual. Okay.
Yeah. Here it is though. It'll be at the bottom of your notes. There we go.
What is that?
And you'll notice that one of the domes, one of the two smaller domes, is gone.
Ooh.
And the reason for that becomes very quickly apparent when the second of the smaller domes explodes.
Oh, okay.
Oh dear.
I branched.
Trace impact.
Yeah, there's another shockwave that comes towards you that sort of seems to come from there. Again, it's not like a shockwave like you would. This is not what accompanies normal explosion, so there's definitely something bizarre going on. But yeah, you are hit by the shockwave again. You may choose to run, but it sort of overtakes you, and you can make power rolls once again.
Yeah, just kind of stagger back as it hits
Yeah.
me. I might try and drop to the floor because I feel like I'm probably going to be blown off my feet if I don't. Oh, that's a 98.
Okay.
54. Success.
Okay. So
21. That's a hard success.
if you did not succeed, then the wave just overtakes you, but you don't kind of see anything. But we'll pick up with you in just a moment. If you did pass, you hear a car pulling up behind you.
Uh-oh.
You hear a motor, engine running, very familiar engine sound, and you turn around, and yeah, there's Virginia Peasley behind the wheel of the car that you were just driving, undented, unwedded to said tree, and you see what look like all of you in there, though you're not wearing the clothes that you were. You're wearing different attire, normal attire. So is Virginia Peasley, and the car kind of comes to a stop. It's not pulling up all the way to the observatory, so it sort of stops a little bit behind you at the end of the road. And then there's this shrill whistling that comes from the portal, and you sort of see that the portal that's formed in the sky, just in this beautiful blue sky, this purple ugliness has formed, and the car is kind of roughly underneath it, you suppose. And then this whistling sound kind of drops down, like if you imagine dropping like a wiffle ball, right? It just goes straight down, and you hear this sound, and then the car is crushed, just flattened. There is bloody detritus that kind of shoots out like it gets squeezed out of the car, and there's a footprint on top of what was the car's roof. It is circular-toed, five-toed footprint. Roughly the size of the top of the car's hood. so quite sizable. And there is, again, the shrill whistling. Those of you who succeeded your test, tell me what you would like to do.
Scream.
Great, great response. Yeah, love that.
Oh shit. So I see the footprint. I don't see anything.
Nope, don't see anything above,
All right.
above said footprint.
Move away. I guess. Back off. Like I'm still looking forward, but I'm trying to get away from whatever is crushing.
Okay. So you're sort of just like taking a few steps, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Those of us that failed, we don't see or hear any of this.
Those of you who failed, you will hear the shrill whistling, and then you turn back and you see you'll see the footprint, and you will hear that shrill whistling, and you'll see Flint backing away as though he is seeing something, and looks sort of on the verge of running, and you hear Dr. Sung scream.
Where do we see a footprint? Just on the ground in front of us?
Exactly. There is the feeling of the physical displacement of air, as though there is something quite large in front of you. And I'm just going to open up some what I call chase cards.
Oh my gosh.
And that's the first one that you see. That's not where you guys are. You guys will be at the next one. And oh hey, look, I have conveniently already put one of these, unbeknownst to you, in the Google Doc. And that is where you guys are going to be. I'll just move it to a new page to make it easier for us to keep track of. So, I know chase rules are just everyone's favorite in Call of Cthulhu. It must be, because there's an entire chapter in the Call of Cthulhu rulebook dedicated to this concept. So we're gonna go ahead and explore that. It's going to start with everyone making a Constitution roll.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so we're looking for an extreme on this, I believe,
You are
in order to
looking for an
improve our movement
extreme
rate.
success. Exactly right.
0-1.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Excellent. So if you score an extreme success, check your movement rate, and your movement rate is going to be increased by 1 for the duration of this chase.
Nice.
I got a 23. I'm going to spend 12 luck to get to a 43.
You can't take it with you. That sounds reasonable.
Yeah.
I've failed. Is there any point spending luck to make it a success?
No, you are just looking for an extreme success. Assuming that you still succeeded your Constitution roll, you are going to have your move be as it is listed on the sheet. If you failed, however, your movement score is going to be reduced by 1. So if your move was, say, a 8, it will be reduced to a 7, for example.
Right, in which case I will spend enough luck to make that a success.
Okay, how much luck are you spending?
2.
Okay, that seems worthwhile. All right. So now I would like everyone's move scores as modified, either based on a failure or an extreme success or just a normal success. I see a 9 for Ms. Julia Chase. Excellent. I see an 8 for Mr. Flint Larson.
A 7 for me.
A 7 for...
Even with your extreme success?
Even with my extreme success.
Oh, yeah, shit.
I'm a tubby middle-aged man.
Yeah, he's the older man. And Dr. Sung, remind me what yours was?
8.
8. Very good. So, for those of you that have 8s, you are going to get 1 movement action. And actually, it's going to be, for purposes of this chase, actually, let me actually do the rules correctly. So, Spencer, you will get 1 movement action. Dr. Sung and Flint, you will get 2 movement actions. And Julia, you will get 3 movement actions. So every time it is your turn to move in initiative, you will get to use all of those movement actions. What do you get to do with a movement action? Well, you could move to the next location. That will be 1 movement action. But you could also do any number of other things, right? It's just sort of same as an action, right? So if you did a fighting action, right, that would be one of your movement actions. the whatever it is, you can see sort of the faint outline in your notes. That's where that thing is. You guys start off at sort of the second card, and we move in order of initiative. And so, could everyone remind me what your dexterity scores are, which is how we determine initiative? Mr. Flint Larson.
45.
45 dex for you. Ms. Julia Chase.
65.
65 for Ms. Chase. Dr. Sung.
60.
60 for the good doctor. And I hesitate to ask, Spencer, what is your dex?
Just the 40.
Just the 40.
Just a 40.
So it will not shock you to hear, Spencer, you are not going first. Julia, however, you do get to go.
Gentleman's 40. Gentleman's 40.
So it's going to be Julia, then I get to go, then it's going to be Dr. Sung, followed by Flint, followed by Spencer. So Julia, what would you like to do?
Okay, so player transparency. I've only done one chase in Cthulhu, and that was actually an Alice game not too long ago. So because I don't quite understand the mechanics of it, can I just tell you what I want to do, and you tell me how many moves that'll work?
Absolutely, and you can do it not just in the context of chases, you can do that in the context of any aspect of the game.
Love your face. Okay, so Julia believes that these 4 individuals are her family, her literal cult family. There's no way she's going to let the slowest person be in the rear. So she's going to go all the way back to Spencer, putting her dagger in her mouth, and her entire focus is getting Spencer moving faster where she's actually taking up the rear.
Absolutely. So you can use 1 movement action to move yourself, and 1 movement action to try and move Spencer. Here is here's the downside. If you fail your roll, you are out 2 movement actions. That's kind of the danger, if you will. How would you like to move Spencer? There are many different ways you could encourage him to move faster than he ordinarily would, from lifting him up and carrying him to shouting words of encouragement. How would Julia do it?
Oh, if I may, because we have a relationship, what would be the most respectful way in Spencer's eyes for me to motivate him?
I think let's ask Spencer that.
I don't think Spencer would appreciate me picking him up even in a life and death situation.
I was going to say, just leave him alone, probably.
Spencer, do you have a preference on how I encourage you?
I would say, you know, that Spencer really doesn't like to be manhandled. He really doesn't like to be told when and where to do things. He is a bit cantankerous. So pretty much anything you do, he's going to grumble about. But I would say probably on a practical aspect, just taking him by the arm and just making sure that if he moves a bit quicker than normal, he doesn't stumble and fall might be the way to do it. He won't like it, but he's not going to like anything you just say or do. So.
Okay. Julia,
and grab him by the arm and start, pulling him forward.
What are you going to argue? What type of a role do you think?
God, I'm trying to pull a middle-aged man to move forward. If I
Sorry, I was going to make a very American comment. Story of our nation.
If he's a cantankerous old man, if I look him in his face as I'm pulling him along and he's giving me any type of resistance, if I look you right in the face and say, either you die or I die here, and you know what choice I'm going to make, I need you to move faster.
I'm moving as fast as I can, for goodness sake.
I think that's going to be persuade.
I'll let her try and bring me along, but I would, I will make it plain that I'm doing it under sufferance.
So go ahead, Julia. Roll persuade.
No.
I'm not. All right. So you're moving, just not enough to move to the next location. So Julia, of your 3 movement actions, you just lost 2 trying to motivate Spencer, and the man is not motivated. So what would you like to do with your last movement action?
It's same focus. I need him moving forward.
Okay. Go ahead and give me a roll then.
You're trying to literally drag me along using a strength roll, I guess.
You just said a roll. I rolled a 42. What do you want me to crash against?
Were you still trying to take the same tact you were before?
No, because now I'm irritated with him because I'm about to die because of him. So now I'm dragging.
Okay. So maybe like a strength check?
Whew. May I burn 2 on this?
Oh, yeah, sure.
I am dragging.
Okay. we're also going to make a note that you will be
Fred is a
down.
different person.
We're also going to make a note that you are down 1 movement action next round, because again you had to use 2. But
Perfect.
you and Spencer have moved to the next location, so I will put that. I will add that. And there's not that many of you, so we're just going to sort of remember where you each are. But you know, Spencer, Julia, remember you're on the 3rd card. So now we go to whatever this invisible thing is. It was some distance away from you. It was 1 location card behind you. It, however, has now moved to the location where Dr. Sung and Flint are still. Here is what I will need you to do. First of all, who has the lowest luck between Dr. Sung and Flint?
Flint is a 43.
53.
Flint,
Mm-hmm.
bad news. You are going to be attacked.
Okay.
There are going to be a certain number of things coming towards you and potentially injuring you. So I'm going to go ahead and roll those. The first one is going to be a hit, and if you're wondering what this is, imagine a blast of wind, but so strong and cutting that it whips you around as though you had been bludgeoned.
Okay. I can't try and dodge that?
You
or
sure
anything?
can.
Okay. Gonna try and dodge it.
Yeah, you are going to need a hard success on your dodge roll. given
Okay.
the
Oh, I only got a regular success, so.
Okay, so you're going to take some damage. You take only 2 points.
Okay.
Here is number 2. That is also going to be a hit. Would you like to try and dodge again?
Yep.
Okay, go for it.
And
And you're going to again need a hard success.
That is a 14, so it's a hard success.
Okay. Let's see if the third one is going to be a hit. You just need a regular success. However, at this point, because you have dodged so many times, you're going to be suffering a penalty die.
Okay. I'll roll again.
Go for
I'll
it.
try. No surprise there. I fail.
You're going to take another 2 points of damage.
Okay.
And this is the last one. And that is also a hit. However, again, all you need is a regular success. Unfortunately, once again, because of the number of times you've had to dodge, you're now suffering 2 penalty dice.
Okay. All right, so I can burn 10. No, I'll fucking take it.
Okay. Great. You take 6 points of damage.
Oh, shit. I'm at 0 points of health.
Okay. Describe how you die.
Oh man, I guess I'm just overtaken by these gusts of wind, and I am just blown back, and it hits my head so hard that takes me out of it.
Yeah, you see Dr. Sung, Spencer and Julia are like moving, but you see Flint sort of kind of picked up in the air. At first you think it's because something is knocking into him, but then he kind of spirals around in midair. But then the rate at which his head is spiraling in proportion to his body fails to keep up, and you hear a crack. Okay, so that was that thing's action. That's going to make things faster because we don't have to worry about Flint. Flint, you can go ahead and roll a 6-sided die, and we'll come back to you in a second. Dr. Sung.
I'm going to run away.
Okay, great. You are getting 2 movement actions, I think?
Yep.
Okay. So 1 movement action takes you to the same location that Spencer and Julia are at, and then do you wish to use your remaining movement action to move further?
Yep, I've just seen someone die horribly.
You're motivated?
Yeah.
Excellent. So you are now at the furthest location. That's going to be location number 4. And Spencer, we are over to you, and you have 1 movement action. You are at the
I
location
already
with...
used that movement action in order to get.
Julia sacrificed one of her movement
Oh,
actions.
okay.
Actually, she sacrificed more than that because of a failed roll. But so you still have your full 1 movement action.
I will move.
Okay.
I will move in a waywardly direction.
Excellent. So you are now at the fourth card as well. It's going to be you and Dr. Sung are at that location. Julia, despite having the most movement actions, is actually like the
on,
furthest.
Julia.
Yeah, right, exactly. You're like, come on, why are you so slow? Very good. So that's going to take us to a new round. Flint, what was the result of your six-sided die roll?
1.
A 1. Very good. Let me see if this is something I can direct message you. I sometimes have trouble with that.
You can do it on Discord if you want.
That's what I'm going to attempt.
Okay.
Discord. Great. Escape. And yeah, this is just going to come to you, so others will not see it. Yeah. Cool. So you may have to make that larger, but that's the handout that I would be providing you at the table if we had a table. So you're free to read that, enjoy the rest of the game. Top of the round, Julia, you are one location behind, and the thing is... the thing is in the location behind you. And everyone else, minus Flint, are in the location ahead of you. And you've got only 2 movement actions because you went over last round helping Spencer.
So she has that dagger in her mouth. The second she sees Flint die, she starts screaming while she's biting down on the dagger. The other 2 party members are in front of her. She's going to attack the thing in front of her. The wind.
Okay. So what... do you wish to move into its location? Do you sort of want to wait for it to move into your location and then strike it?
So I'll reverse the question to you. Her goal is slow it down for the slow dude in front of her and the lady in front of her.
So
whatever that means.
So what I think will happen is the thing will move one location into your location. So now you are in the same location. You will then interrupt its action.
Perfect.
And you will get to take two actions because you've just been kind of lying in wait. And so yeah, this kind of whirlwind shares your location now. What describe to me what you would like to do. So if you're taking your dagger and stabbing at the air, what are we talking about?
Yeah, that's the best that she can. She knows she's not going to be effective. So this is literally just pulling the dagger out of her mouth and swiping at it while screaming, "You bastard!"
Sounds good. Yeah, go ahead and make a fighting brawl roll, unless there's another skill you think is more appropriate. And this thing is going to fight back against you.
All right, fighting brawl, fighting brawl, fighting brawl. She hit a hard success on that one.
Okay, so in order to beat you, I'm going to need an extreme success, which... so close, 2 points off. But this thing doesn't use luck, so you are okay. So you're going to hit. Would you like to activate your dagger?
Absolutely.
Okay.
100%.
Okay. So in addition to the regular damage, which is going to be a d4 for the dagger, you are also going to do 1d6 additional points of damage.
Ooh, succeeded on the POW check with a hard success. 8 points total damage.
Excellent. And you will also lose that many magic points.
That
may not matter. We'll see. But, ooh, yeah, so you hear shrill whistling. You connected, and there is this kind of black ichor that's just seemingly manifesting in thin air, dripping down your dagger. And maybe you feel a little bit in your element right now. You've got another action, a second movement action.
It's just a movement action, correct?
Nope, you can attack again.
Oh, let's do that then.
Yep, movement actions are just like actions, so you can strike again. The thing is going to fight back.
Oh my god! Yeah, he is. Of course he is.
How did it go?
I hit a 7, which is probably an extreme.
Oh yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I only did a regular success, and on fighting checks to fight back, ties go to you. We didn't tie. You definitely beat it.
Okay.
Do you wish to activate the dagger again?
I do, and I just barely made that POW check.
Okay, go for it.
Total damage on this one is going to be 8.
So a total of 16 damage to this thing. Excellent.
She's about to die here in a second off of magic points alone.
Yeah, I suspect
She's
so.
100% about to die off magic point loss.
So perhaps because you have actually injured this thing, it stops being invisible to you, Julia. You can go ahead and give me a sanity roll, and we'll sort of describe what you see based on how that roll goes.
Rolled a 4.
Excellent. So you're only going to take... Oh, great. A single point. You are so in your element right now.
Okay.
I will share a picture of this thing with
Okay.
you, just over Discord. Bum. There we go. So that's what you see. I'm going to say the image doesn't quite do it justice because you need to imagine some kind of protoplasmic flesh that is forming eyes and mouths seemingly at random and gnashing away. And so it manifests, but then it is going to attack you. Do you wish to fight back as one of its tendrils comes after you, or do you wish to dodge?
Oh, she's going to fight back.
Okay, go for it. Give me a fighting brawl check.
It's just a regular success on this one.
It critted you. So you, so
It's nice to be with you guys.
so you are going to take 10 points of damage.
Oh,
You still going?
0.
Zero,
Nope, that's a
okay.
0.
Why don't you describe how you are killed?
The major wound anyway.
Yeah, no, that took her straight out. So, they can't see this. They can't see what I'm seeing, correct?
We're gonna find out if they turn back, but it sounds very much like they are like running as fast as they can. So I hope not.
I'm out of here.
So, let's say this creature, after the damage it took from me, reels and roars, and it just kind of flops down over her. And by the time it moves away, she's just completely dispersed. She's just not present.
Nice. Let's turn to Dr. Song. Dr. Song.
I'm running like hell.
Okay. That seems reasonable.
Anything I heard behind me only motivates me to run fast.
Excellent. Dr. Sung, you have 2 movement actions, and with those, you can make it all the way. I'm just copying the rest of the location cards, all the way to the observatory, and you will be at the front door. Spencer. Also, just moving to the next location.
Run away!
Okay, great. You move to the next location. This is the last round. The thing will get to do stuff one last time before you will successfully get into the observatory. Oh, Bridget, could you roll me a d6?
Most certainly. That is going to be a 4.
A 4, great. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very cool. And I am going to send something over Discord your way, and if you would read it to yourself and act on that information, that would be lovely. Okay, so this thing's last turn is its last chance to do anything to the surviving investigators. Let's see what my options are. It's going to move 1 location, so it should be pretty close to Spencer. Not the same location, though. So it will... Spencer, can you give me a strength roll?
A strength roll.
You
no weakling.
just need to be passing here.
He's no weakling. That is a fail.
Ooh.
So I'm going to spend a little bit of luck on that. I need to spend 8 points of luck to make that a pass.
That sounds very reasonable. So with a success on your strength roll, you resist as you feel the wind turn against you. If you've ever jogged or even walked briskly into a fierce wind, you appreciate how unpleasant this is. But this is almost hurricane strength winds as you are kind of almost forced back towards the thing, like it's sucking you towards it. Fortunately, you resist.
Run, not too soon! Run!
Dr. Sung, it's over to you, and I think you just go into the observatory, right?
Yep.
Okay. Spencer is going to join you, assuming he uses his movement action to move as well. And as you kind of break against the observatory. You open the doors, they are not locked. You do not have a lot of time to appreciate the marvelous architecture, the Apollo chariot above the door, the strange glowing symbols on either side. None of that really matters. You propel yourselves inwards. You slam the doors shut behind you, and everything is suddenly very quiet. And there's going to be two things that happen right before we break. The first is there's going to be a crackling sound of static, like from a loudspeaker, right? These are the 20s, so loudspeakers are, they are what they are. So you hear, as you're both leaning against the doors, perhaps waiting for the thing to push against them, though everything is just very quiet. I don't know who you are or what you think you're doing, but you won't stop my work now. I've come too far. I've lost too much, do you understand? Today, we play for the highest of stakes. Humanity itself. When you turn around, you see Julia and Flint. And that is where we're going to take ourselves a short break. I'm going to stop the recording, and we're going to see each other in about 15 minutes, I think.
Okay. Wow.